The new black maid asks, "Ma'am, why is my daughter's father in the portrait in your mansion?" Joanna's hand froze in midair, still holding the strap of her worn bag. His eyes, which a few seconds ago roamed the mansion's entrance hall with the shyness of someone stepping into unfamiliar territory, were now fixed on the wall at the back. An entire wall covered in portraits in gilded frames, and in the center, bigger than all the others, the photo of a man in a navy blue suit, confident smile, clear eyes that she could never forget. The air went out of her lungs. "Madam," the voice was weak, trembling. Joanna took 2 steps forward without asking permission, as if she were being pulled by an invisible thread. "Why is my daughter's father in the portrait in your mansion?" The silence that fell over the hall was as heavy as lead. Veronica Almeida, the owner of the house, turned around slowly. She was a woman in her late 60s, her hair tied into an impeccable bun, a beige linen dress, and a pearl necklace. Everything about her screamed control. Everything, except the expression that took over his face at that moment. "What?" The word came out sharp. Joanna pointed to the portrait with a shaking hand. "That man, Raphael, he is my daughter's father." Veronica blinked slowly, as if processing an absurd insult. Then his eyes swept Joanna from top to bottom, her faded jeans, her simple cotton blouse, her worn white sneakers, her dark skin, her curly hair tied into a low bun, and something changed in her eyes, something cold. "You must be confused," said Veronica, her voice now low, dangerous. "My son has never been involved with—" She paused, choosing the word carefully. "With someone like you." Joanna felt the sentence like a slap. "I'm not confused. I met him 9 years ago. We had a relationship. I got pregnant. He disappeared before our daughter was born. My son is dead." Veronica spat the words. "He died 3 months ago, and I won't allow you to come to my house on the day you should be asking for a job, making up stories for what? Extortion? Scam? It's not a lie." Joanna's voice rose, desperate. "I have proof. Old messages, photos, Sophia's birth certificate with his name as the declared father. He arrives." Veronica took a step forward. Even though she was shorter than Joanna, she seemed giant at that moment. "I don't know what kind of scam you're trying to pull off, but it won't work. My son was a serious man, of family, of principles. He would never get involved with a—" She left the sentence hanging, but the contempt was clear. Joanna felt the tears burning, but she held them back. "I wasn't going to cry, not in front of that woman. I just wanted the job," he said softly. "I didn't know it was his house. I didn't know he had died." Her voice broke on the last word. Veronica narrowed her eyes. "So you really knew him?" Joanna nodded, unable to speak. The boss took a deep breath, as if making a decision. "Get out of my house. Now." But now. And 3 hours earlier, Joanna was in the small living room of the 2-bedroom apartment where she lived with her daughter Sophia, in the peripheral neighborhood of Santo Expedito. The 8-year-old girl was finishing her math homework at the plastic table, her tongue sticking out in concentration. Joanna was fixing her hair in the cracked mirror next to the door, trying to look presentable. "Mom, are you going to get the job?" Sophia asked without looking up from her notebook. "I will, my love, I'll make it." Joanna didn't know how to lie to her daughter, but she also didn't know how to tell the truth, that this was the 5th job she tried that month, that the bills were late, that the rent was due in a week and she couldn't pay, that the money from the cleaning I did on Saturdays was barely enough for food. She bent down and kissed the top of the girl's head. "If I can do it, we'll go back to eating chicken every Sunday. How about that?" Sophia smiled. "And ice cream?" "And ice cream." The girl had her father's eyes, the same clear, penetrating eyes. Every time Joanna looked at Sophia, she saw Raphael, and every time I felt the same tightness in my chest, love for my daughter, pain at his absence. Raphael Almeida, the name she hadn't said out loud in years. They met when Joanna was 20 years old and worked as a server in a cafeteria near the university. He was a law student, always well-dressed, smelling good, polite, different from other customers. He started going to the place every day. They talked. They laughed. After 3 months, he asked her out. It was beautiful at first. He was attentive, affectionate. He took Joanna to places she had never been to, restaurants, cinema, parks. He said she was special, that he loved her, but he never introduced her to anyone. He never posted a photo of the two of them. He never took her to her parents' house. When Joanna became pregnant, Raphael wow, it got cold, distant. He said he needed to think, and then, it just disappeared, blocked her number, changed universities. It disappeared. Joanna spent the entire pregnancy alone. He worked until the 8th month, carrying trays and enduring back pain. Sophia was born prematurely and spent 15 days in the neonatal ICU. Joanna sold hot food during the day and cleaned offices at night to pay off hospital debts. And during all these years, Raphael never showed up. Not a message, not a penny in pension, nothing. Until that day, Joanna believed that he had simply discarded her, that she had been a mistake, a diversion, something he wanted to forget. I never imagined he came from a family like that. Mansion, portraits with gold frames, boss with pearl necklace. Now, standing in the entrance hall of that house, being expelled as if she were a criminal, Joanna understood everything. Raphael never introduced her to anyone because he was ashamed of her, ashamed of the color of her skin, shame on her origins, shame that someone in the family found out. The tears finally flowed. Joanna turned to leave, but Veronica's voice stopped her. Wait. Joanna stopped but didn't turn around. You said you have proof. Veronica spoke slowly as if each word cost her dearly. Messages, photos. I have. And the birth certificate of the child. You said his name is there. Yes. I registered him as a father even without his consent. It is a child's right. There was a long pause. How much do you want? Veronica asked, her voice hard. Joanna turned around, confused. Like this? How much do you want to disappear and never come back here again? To forget that my son existed? So as not to tarnish my family's name with this story? Anger rose in Joanna's throat like bile. I don't want money. I want my daughter to have her right. I want her to know who her father was. Your daughter has no rights. Veronica advanced, her face inches from Joanna's. My son is dead. His inheritance has already been divided according to his will. There's nothing left for bastards. The word dropped like a stone. Joanna took a deep breath, trying to remain calm. Do you at least want to meet your granddaughter? I don't have a granddaughter, Veronica said categorically. And if you insist on this story, I'll call my lawyers. I will sue you for defamation, slander, extortion. I will destroy you. Did you understand? Joanna held back, crying. I understood. She turned and walked to the door. But before leaving, he looked once again at Raphael's portrait in the center of the wall. He looked so happy there, so safe, so untouchable. And then Joanna realized, next to his portrait was another, minor, a beautiful blonde woman in a white dress, and between the two a discreet sign, Raphael and Helena, engagement, 2016. The ground opened beneath Joanna's feet. 2016, the year Sophia was born. Raphael was engaged when he got her pregnant. Joanna left the mansion staggering, her legs weak, her vision blurred. He walked down the tree-lined street without looking back. Only when he turned the corner, out of sight of the house, did he allow himself to collapse. He leaned against a wall and cried. He cried about everything, for the humiliation, for rejection, for the fact that Sophia would never be recognized. But then, between the tears, something burned inside her. Anger. Anger at Raphael, who used and discarded her. Anger at Veronica, who treated her like dirt. Anger at herself for having believed his promises. Joanna wiped her face with the back of her hand. No, she wasn't going to give up. Sophia deserved better than that. He deserved the truth. He deserved justice. And Joanna was going to fight for it, even if it was the last thing she did. And that night, after putting Sophia to sleep, Joanna sat on the living room floor with her cell phone in her hand. He opened the drawer where he kept Raphael's few souvenirs, printed photos of the two of them, notes he left on the cafeteria counter, the bracelet he gave her for her birthday, and there at the bottom, wrapped in a plastic bag, the DNA test she had taken when Sophia was born. At the time, Joanna got a strand of Raphael's hair. She had saved it from the day he slept at her house. He paid for the test with the money he had saved for the baby's layette. I wanted to be sure. I wanted to have proof in case one day I needed it. The result was there on letterhead, 99.9% probability of paternity. Joanna photographed the document. She photographed the old messages that were still saved on the broken computer that she never had the courage to throw away. He took photos of them together, and then, with his hands shaking, he typed a message. Lady Veronica, I know you don't want to believe me, but I have proof. I have DNA testing, messages, photos. I'm not asking for money, I just want my daughter to be recognized. She deserves to know where she came from. Please give me a chance. Pressed send before he could regret it. The answer came in less than 2 minutes. If you contact me again, I will call the police. Don't make me take drastic measures. Joanna turned off her cell phone and leaned her head against the wall, and that was when he realized. Veronica's number. She had gotten it from a conversation with the secretary who nominated her for the job, but there was another saved number there, an old number, a number she had blocked years ago but never deleted, Raphael's number, and beneath it, a notification she hadn't seen before, a WhatsApp notification. This account has been deactivated. Joanna frowned, clicked, and then he saw it. Raphael's profile picture was still there, but it wasn't the same as before. It was recent, of him in an office, gray suit, smiling, and in the description, lawyer, Almeida and Asociados, justice above all, justice above all. Joanna let out a bitter laugh, and then as he scrolled, he saw something that made his heart skip a beat. A conversation, an active conversation, between Raphael and someone called H. The last message was from 3 months ago, one day before the date that Veronica mentioned as the accident. H, I need to tell you something. It's about that girl from years ago, Joanna. She came to me. She says she has my daughter. I don't know what to do. My mother can't know, but I think I need to do the right thing. I'll talk to her tomorrow. Joanna read the message 3 times. 4, 5. Raphael, were you going to talk to her? Was Raphael going to take over Sophia, and then he died? Coincidence? Or, Joanna felt a chill down her spine. He got up, went to the bedroom and looked at his sleeping daughter. Sophia snored softly, her teddy bear pressed against her chest, and Joanna made a silent promise. I will find out the truth, and I will do justice for you, my daughter, even if it costs me everything. Joanna didn't sleep that night. She sat on the living room floor, the light from her cell phone illuminating her face, reading and rereading the last message that Raphael had sent to that person called H. The words burned on the screen like live embers. I need to tell you something. It's about that girl from years ago, Joanna. She came to me. She says she has my daughter. I don't know what to do. My mother can't know, but I think I need to do the right thing. I'll talk to her tomorrow. The date of the message, July 23, 2024. Raphael's date of death, according to Veronica, July 24, 2024. 1 day later, Joanna felt her heart accelerate. Coincidence? Or had Raphael died because he was going to do the right thing? She scrolled up, trying to find more messages between Raphael and H, but the history was empty. Either he had deleted everything, or that was actually the last thing he had written before he died. But who was H? Joanna clicked on the profile. The photo was of a blonde woman with straight hair down to her shoulders, sunglasses, and a discreet smile. No description, no last name visible, just H. Then Joanna remembered. The woman in the portrait next to Raphael, his fiancée, Helena. It had to be her. Joanna felt a lump in her throat. Raphael had told his fiancée that he was going to talk to Joanna, that Sophia was going to take over, and the next day, he died. She needed to know more. I needed to understand what had happened that day. The next morning, Joanna dropped Sophia off at school and went straight to the neighborhood public library. He sat down at one of the old computers and typed into Google, Rafael Almeida death accident. The results appeared immediately. Lawyer dies in car accident on Rodovia dos Bandeirantes. Almeida family in mourning. Only son dies at age 31. Fatal accident. Vehicle rolls over after collision with truck. Joanna clicked on the first news item. The article was short, published by a local portal. Rafael Almeida, 31 years old, lawyer at the law firm Almeida and Associados, died in the early hours of July 24th after his vehicle collided with a truck at km 32 of Rodovia dos Bandeirantes. According to witnesses, Rafael's car entered the oncoming lane and collided head-on with the truck. The truck driver was unharmed. The civil police are investigating the causes of the accident. Rafael is survived by his mother, Veronica Almeida, a businesswoman, and his bride, Helena Borges, psychologist. Joanna read it 3 times. He invaded the oncoming lane. Rafael was a careful driver. She remembered that. He always buckled up, always respected the speed limits, always criticized those who drove recklessly. Why would he have invaded the oncoming lane? She continued searching. Another news item opened, and then another. They all repeated the same version. Accident, head-on collision, instant death. None mentioned criminal investigation. None spoke of suspected sabotage. But something in Joanna's chest screamed that this wasn't right. She took out her cell phone and typed a message to Helena's number, which she had copied from Raphael's WhatsApp. H. Helena, my name is Joanna. I need to talk to you about Raphael. It's urgent. Please answer me. It sent, and waited. Seconds, minutes, half an hour, nothing. Yisaika Raumaki while waiting, Joanna let her mind wander to the past. For the days when she believed Raphael truly loved her. She was 20 years old when she met him. Him, 22. Joanna worked at the cafeteria near the university, serving sandwiches and coffee to hurried students. Raphael was different, always polite. He always looked into her eyes when he asked, always left a tip, even when the service was self-service. One day he stayed until closing. Can I take you home? He asked, hands in his pockets, a shy smile on his face. Joanna hesitated. I didn't usually accept rides from strangers, but there was something about him, something kind, something safe. Okay, she said. He took her in a car, a silver sedan, smelling good, clean. Along the way, they talked about everything, music, films, dreams. Raphael said he wanted to be a lawyer, but not just anyone. I wanted to defend wronged people. I wanted to make a difference. Joanna said she wanted to go back to studying. that he had stopped in high school to help his sick mother, who dreamed of going to pedagogy college one day. "You'll make it," Raphael said, his eyes steady on her. "I am sure." And that night, Joanna fell in love. The following months were magical. Raphael took her to the cinema, to the park, to simple restaurants where they shared a pizza and laughed until their stomachs hurt. He treated her like she was special, as if it mattered. But there was always an invisible line. He never took her to his house. He never talked about his family. I never posted photos of the two of them. When Joanna asked, he stopped talking. "My mother is complicated," he said. "She doesn't like anyone. Don't take it personally." Joanna didn't insist. I didn't want to be the annoying girlfriend, the one who demanded, the one who pressured, until she became pregnant. Joanna remembered the day she told him. They were sitting on a bench in a square, the sun setting behind the trees. She had the pregnancy test in her bag. Her heart was beating wildly. "Raphael, I need to tell you something." He turned to her, smiling. What it was? "I'm pregnant." The smile disappeared. The silence that followed was the longest of Joanna's life. "Are you sure?" he asked, his voice low. "I have. I took the test 3 times. Raphael ran his hands over his face. He took a deep breath. "Joanna, I need to think. This changes everything. I know, but we will make it. I need time," he interrupted, standing up. "Give me a break." And then he left, and he never came back. Joanna tried to call, send message, go to university, but Raphael disappeared, blocked her number, changed class. It disappeared as if it had never existed, and Joanna, alone, pregnant, without money, without support, had to learn to survive. But why the cell phone vibrated, pulling Joanna out of the past. A message from Helena. "I don't know who you are, but don't contact me again. Raphael is dead. Leave him alone." Joanna felt her blood boil. "I have his daughter, and I know he was going to look for me the day he died. Do you know anything?" The answer came quickly, and this time, different. "Meet me tomorrow, 3 p.m., at Cafe Central, alone. Don't tell anyone, especially don't tell Veronica." Joanna blinked. Read it again. Why didn't Helena want Veronica to know? What did she have to say? And that night, after putting Sophia to sleep, Joanna went back to looking through her cell phone. He opened the folder of old photos he had kept of Raphael. There were few. He never liked being photographed. But Joanna had managed to hide some of them. Raphael smiling in the square. Raphael wearing sunglasses in the park. Raphael sleeping on her couch one Sunday afternoon. Joanna enlarged the last photo, and then he saw something he had never noticed before. On Raphael's wrist, a braided leather bracelet, black and brown, simple. Joanna frowned. She had given him that bracelet. It was a cheap gift bought at a crafts fair, but Raphael had loved it. He said he would never take it off. And in the photo of the portrait in Veronica's mansion, Joanna opened the browser and looked for the news about Raphael's death. Some articles had photos of him. She enlarged one, and there it was. On his wrist in the official photo from the law firm, taken weeks before he died, the same bracelet. He had never taken it off, even after disappearing from her life, even after getting engaged to Helena, even after everything. Joanna felt the tears burning, but she didn't let them fall. Not now. She had a meeting the next day, and I needed to be prepared. The next morning, Joanna left Sophia with her neighbor, Donacita, a 60-year-old lady who always helped when I needed it, and took 2 buses to the city center. Cafe Central was on a busy street, full of offices and shops. Joanna arrived 15 minutes early. He sat at a table in the corner, with his back to the wall, where he could see the door. At 3 p.m. sharp, Helena entered. She was more beautiful in person. Straight blonde hair, fair skin, discreet designer clothes, black tailored pants, white silk blouse, genuine leather bag. Everything about her screamed class. Everything about her was the opposite of Joanna. Helena swept her eyes around the cafe until she found Joanna. He walked to the table and sat down without saying hello. "Are you Joanna?" It wasn't a question. "I am." Helena crossed her hands on the table, her face expressionless. "Raphael told me about you, weeks before he died." Joanna swallowed dryly. "Did he tell you?" He said. "He said he had done something horrible years ago, that he had abandoned a pregnant woman, that he regretted every day." Helena paused, her eyes fixed on Joanna's. "He said you had tried to contact him recently, that he had a daughter, that he wanted to do right. And you? What did you say?" Helena let out a long sigh. "I told you he should, that the child was not to blame, that he needed to take responsibility." She looked away. "But Veronica found out." Joanna's heart raced. "How?" "I made a mistake," I told her. "I thought that as a mother she would support Raphael, that I would understand." Helena laughed bitterly. "I was wrong." "What did she do?" Helena was silent for a moment. Then, in a low voice, almost a whisper, she said that if Raphael took over this child she would disinherit him. That would take everything from him. The office, the inheritance, the surname. She said he was choosing between his family And you? Joanna felt the floor disappear. And what did Raphael decide? Helena looked at Joanna, her eyes teary. He decided to do the right thing, even if it meant losing everything. And then, Helena took an envelope from her purse pocket and slid it across the table. He asked me to give you this, in case something happened to him. Joanna took the envelope with shaking hands. In case something happened? Did he know he was going to die? Helena didn't respond, just got up, read, and then decide what to do. But be careful, Joanna. The Almeida family does not forgive betrayal. And Veronica, she paused, her voice breaking. Veronica is capable of anything. And then Helena left the cafe without looking back. Joanna was left alone, the white envelope in her hand, her heart beating so loudly that she could hear it. He opened the envelope with trembling fingers. Inside, a letter, handwritten, with Raphael's lyrics. Joanna, if you're reading this, it's because I couldn't get to you in time. I'm very sorry, for everything, for abandoning you, for being a coward, for leaving you and our daughter alone. I always knew about Sophia, always, but I was weak. I was afraid of my mother, fear of losing everything, and because of that, I lost what really mattered. But now I know the truth, and I need you to know too. My mother is not who you think. She is dangerous. She will do anything to protect the family name. And when she found out about you, about Sophia, she threatened me. He said that if I came out to my daughter, she would destroy me. But I don't care anymore. I'll do the right thing. I'll look for you. I'm going to meet Sophia. I will give her my last name, my heritage, my love. I just need to resolve one thing first. If something happens to me, look for lawyer Enrique Mura. He has all the documents. He knows everything. He will help you. And Joanna, forgive me, please. Raphael. Joanna finished reading, tears streaming down her face, and then he saw it. In the bottom corner of the envelope, something was written in red pen, a different letter, trembling, hurried. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't an accident. The words written in red on the envelope burned in Joanna's mind like a red-hot iron. She read Raphael's letter once again, sitting on a park bench 3 blocks from Café Central, her hands still shaking. Raphael knew he was in danger, and yet, he had chosen to do the right thing. I had chosen Sophia. Joanna folded the letter carefully and placed it at the bottom of her bag. He took out his cell phone and typed in the name Raphael had mentioned, Enrique Mura, lawyer. The search returned an office in the city center, small, discreet, specialized in family and succession law. Joanna wrote down the address, but before I went there, I needed more answers. I needed to understand what had really happened that night of July 24th. And that afternoon, Joanna went to the highway police station responsible for investigating the accident. The police station was in a neighboring town, 40 minutes away by bus. It was an old gray building with peeling walls and a musty smell. Joanna approached the service counter. A middle-aged policeman, Ponch the prominent one, looked at her with a bored expression. Isn't it? I would like information about an accident that happened in July, on the Bandeirantes Highway. Name of the victim? Rafael Almeida. The officer typed on the old computer, his fingers slow on the keyboard. Case closed. Accident. Head-on collision with truck. Driver lost control of the vehicle. But, was there an investigation? Car inspection? Any suspicion of mechanical failure or, Joanna hesitated, or sabotage? The officer looked at her, raising an eyebrow. Sabotage? Where did you get this from? I knew Raphael. He was very careful when driving. It doesn't make sense that he invaded the oncoming lane. Look, girl, an accident is an accident. Nobody plans to hit a truck head-on. Sometimes people get distracted, doze off, pick up their cell phone. It happens. But did you check the car? Brakes? Direction? The policeman sighed impatiently. The car caught fire after the collision. There wasn't much left to analyze. The family did not want to open a criminal investigation. Case closed. Joanna felt her stomach turn. The family didn't want it. His mother, Veronica Almeida, she said she wanted to let her son rest in peace. Signed all terms. The body was cremated 3 days after the accident. Cremated. No full autopsy. No investigation. No questions. Joanna left the police station with more questions than answers. If Veronica had that much power, the power to close an investigation, to cremate her own son's body without question, what else was she capable of doing? The next day, Joanna went to Enrique Mora's office. It was a small room in an old commercial building, 3rd floor, without an elevator. The sign on the door was faded. Enrique Mora, Advocacia e Consultoria Jurídica. Joanna knocked. Nobody responded. It hit again. It's open. A hoarse voice came from inside. Joanna pushed the door. The office was simple. A wooden table, 2 chairs, shelves full of dusty legal books, a ceiling fan that turned slowly. Behind the table, a man of about 50, gray hair, thick prescription glasses, worn jacket. Can I help? He asked without looking up from a file he was reading. My name is Joanna Santos. Rafael Almeida told me to look for him. Henrique stopped reading. He raised his eyes slowly, evaluating Joanna over his glasses. Rafael is dead, he said, his voice careful. I know, but before he died, he left me a letter. He said you had documents. Who knew everything? Henry was silent for a long moment. Then he got up, went to the door and locked it. He returned to the table and opened a drawer. He took out a brown folder, tied with string. Rafael came to look for me 2 weeks before he died, Enrique began, his voice low. He said he had made a serious mistake years ago, that he had abandoned a pregnant woman, that I wanted to make amends. He talked about me, Joanna whispered. He spoke, and he asked me to prepare documents recognizing paternity, will, retroactive pension, everything. He wanted to do it officially. I wanted his daughter to have her rights. Joanna felt her eyes burn. And he signed it? Henry nodded. Signed. He recognized Sophia as his legitimate daughter. He allocated half of all his assets to her. But, he paused, his face dark. He didn't have time to register. Why? Because he died before. And without official registration, the will is not valid. Everything Rafael had automatically passed to the only recognized legal heir, Veronica Almeida, his mother. Joanna felt the floor collapse. So Sophia has no right to anything? Legally, no, unless... Enrique opened the folder and took out a sheet. Unless you prove that Sophia is Rafael's biological daughter and file an action for post-mortem recognition of paternity, then yes, she will have the right to inheritance. I have a DNA test. I have proof. Then you have a chance, but it won't be easy. The Almeida family is powerful. They will fight. They will try to discredit you, disqualify the evidence, drag the process out for years. I don't care, Joanna said, her voice firm. I will fight. Enrique looked at her for a long moment, then he nodded. Then let's get started. But there's one thing you need to know first. What? Rafael told me that his mother threatened him. He said that if he recognized Sophia, she would cut him out of the will, that he was going to lose everything. His law firm, his apartment, his bank accounts. Everything was in Veronica's name. Rafael had nothing officially. Joanna frowned. Like this? Veronica is controlling. She never passed anything on to her son. She kept everything in her name, so she had absolute control. Rafael was just an employee at the family law firm, a well-paid lawyer, but with no assets of his own. Then, did she control him through money? Exactly. And when Rafael said he was going to take on Sophia no matter what, that he didn't care about the money, Enrique stopped, his face tense. I think Veronica realized she was losing control. Joanna felt a chill. Are you saying that she... I'm not saying anything, Enrique interrupted, raising his hands. I have no proof, but Rafael was scared, very scared. He told me that if something happened to him, I should look for you. I should give you these documents, and I should warn you. Be careful with Veronica Almeida. Joanna left Henrique's office with the document folder under her arm and her heart racing. It was getting dark. The downtown streets were emptying. She walked to the bus stop but stopped. Someone was watching her. He turned around. A black car was parked across the street. Dark glasses, engine running. Joanna quickened her pace. The car began to move, following her slowly. Her heart raced. She turned onto a side street, almost running. The car sped up and rounded the corner behind her. Joanna ran into a bakery, panting. The car passed slowly in front but did not stop. It disappeared around the next corner. She waited 10 minutes before leaving. His hands were shaking so much that he could barely hold the folder. Someone was following her, and Joanna was sure who it was. The night, after putting Sophia to sleep, Joanna sat in the kitchen with her folder of documents open in front of her, read everything, the paternity recognition that Rafael had prepared, the will, copies of conversations between him and Henrique, and then he saw something that made his blood run cold. A copy of an email from Rafael to Henrique, sent on the morning of July 23rd, the day before his death. Enrique, I'm worried. My mother found out everything. She summoned me for a talk tonight. She said it's my last chance to make the right choice. I'm scared, but I'm going there. I'm going to tell her that I'm not going to change my mind, that I'm going to take on Sophia no matter what the cost. If something happens to me, please take care of Joanna and my daughter. They're innocent in all this. Joanna read it 3 times. Rafael had gone to Veronica's house the night before his death. He had had a conversation with her, and the next day, he died. The pieces of the puzzle were starting to fit together, and the picture they formed was terrifying. The next morning, Joanna received a call from an unknown number. He answered hesitantly. Hello? Joanna Santos? A male, formal voice. Yes, my name is Dr. Fabricio Lemos. I'm a lawyer for the Almeida family. Mrs. Veronica would like to talk to you. In particular, Joanna felt her stomach tighten. I have nothing to talk to her about. Mrs. Veronica is willing to make a deal, a generous deal, but it needs to be in person. Today, at 6 p.m., at her residence. I am not going. 50,000 raise, the lawyer interrupted. In sight, in cash. No questions, no lawsuits. The lady signs a confidentiality agreement and never mentions the name of Rafael Almeida or his family again. The lady and her daughter go on with their lives. Everyone wins. Joanna was silent. 50,000 raise. It was more money than she had seen in her entire life. It was enough to pay off all the debts, to move to a better place, to provide quality education for Sophia. But, no, she said, her voice firm. Sorry? I said no. My daughter is not for sale, and neither does her father's memory. You are making a mistake. Joanna hung up. The hands were shaking, but there was something inside her, something new, something strong, dignity. She wasn't going to sell out, not this time. At night, after putting Sophia to sleep, Joanna was washing the dishes when she heard a knock on the door. Strong, insistent. He dried his hands and went to answer. Through the window, he saw two men in suits. One of them held an envelope. Who is it? She asked without opening it. Bailiff, we have a subpoena for you. Joanna opened the door slowly. The man handed over the envelope and asked her to sign a receipt. She signed with a shaking hand. When the men left, Joanna opened the envelope. It was a judicial notice. Veronica Almeida was suing Joanna for defamation, slander, and extortion. He asked for compensation of 200,000 reais, and he requested a restraining order, prohibiting Joanna from approaching the Almeida residence or from mentioning Rafael's name publicly. Joanna read the document 3 times, her heart beating wildly. Veronica wasn't kidding. She was going to use all the power she had to destroy Joanna, to silence her, to make her disappear. Joanna sat on the living room floor, her back against the wall, the paper in her hands, and then he heard a noise at the window, a scratch. She turned around. The window was open, but Joanna was sure she had locked it before going to sleep. He got up slowly. He went to the window. He looked outside. The street was dark, empty, but on the windowsill, there was something, a ticket. Joanna took it with a shaking hand, opened. 3 words, written in large letters, read, abandon this, now. And below, a photo of Sophia, leaving school, alone. Joanna felt the world spin. The legs failed. She fell to her knees, her breath catching, terror exploding inside her chest. They were threatening your daughter. The photo of Sophia in Joanna's trembling hand was the line that could not be crossed. Threatening a mother was one thing. Threatening an innocent child was another. Joanna didn't sleep that night. She sat on the sofa facing the door, a kitchen knife at her side, her eyes fixed on every shadow that moved in the window. With every noise on the street, my heart raced. But when the sun rose, something had changed inside her. It was no longer fear, it was fury. At 7 in the morning, Joanna took Sophia to Dona Cida's house, the neighbor. Can you stay with her for a few days? Joanna asked, her voice controlled but tense. I need to resolve some things. Dona Cida, who had known Joanna since she moved to the neighborhood, noticed something in her eyes. Did something happen, my daughter? Joanna hesitated. Then he took the photo out of his pocket and showed it. They are threatening my daughter. Dona Cida's eyes widened. My God, did you call the police? It's no use. The person behind this has a lot of power, but I will solve it. I just need Sophia to stay away from me for a few days for safety. Dona Cida held Joanna's hands. You're not alone, do you hear me? If you need anything at all, you call me. Joanna nodded, her eyes teary. Sophia, who was playing in the living room without understanding anything, waved excitedly. Mom, can I stay here with Aunt Cida? She makes cake. Joanna forced a smile and kissed her daughter's forehead. Yes, you can, my love. Mom will be back soon. From Dona Cida's house, Joanna went straight to Henrique Moura's office. He knocked hard on the door. Henrique opened it, with a wrinkled shirt and deep circles under his eyes, as if he hadn't slept either. Joanna, what? She walked in without waiting for an invitation and threw the photo on the table. They threatened my daughter. Henrique took the photo. His face hardened. Veronica? Who else would it be? Joanna walked from one side to the other, her hands clenched into fists. She offered me money. I refused. Then he sued me, and now he's threatening an 8-year-old child. Henrique took off his glasses and ran his hand over his face. This changes everything. Change how? A minor threat is a crime. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how much money you have. If we can prove it was her, how? Joanna interrupted, her voice rising. She didn't sign the photo, didn't send it by mail. Someone came into my house and left this on the window. There's no camera, there's no witness, there's nothing. Henry was silent. Then he got up. You need help. From people who are not afraid of the Almeida family. And who would it be? Henrique picked up the phone. I know someone. 2 hours later, Joanna was sitting in a small room at a human rights NGO in the city center. In front of him, a lawyer of about 40 years old, short hair, firm eyes, the posture of someone who would not back down. Her name was Dr. Camila Ferreira. Enrique told me everything, Camila said, leafing through the documents that Joanna had brought. Acknowledgement of paternity prepared and not registered, suspicious death, intimidation, minor threat. She looked up. You're messing with very powerful people, Joanna. I know, and you still want to continue? Joanna didn't hesitate. My daughter has the right to know who her father was, to have his last name, to have the inheritance that is hers by law, and if I don't fight for it, who will? Camilla smiled, a small but genuine smile. Then let's fight. The following days were intense. Camila and Henrique put together a strategy. First, they formally registered the request for post-mortem recognition of paternity, attaching the DNA test, old messages, photos, and documents that Rafael had prepared before he died. They then filed criminal representation against Veronica for threats and intimidation. And then, the boldest move, they requested the exhumation of Rafael's body. Exhumation? Joanna's eyes widened when Camilla mentioned it. But he was cremated. Exactly, Camilla said. And that's strange. The cremation took place 3 days after the death, without a complete autopsy, without a criminal investigation, at Veronica's express request. Why? What was she hiding? Joanna felt a chill. Do you think did she kill her own son? Camila and Henrique exchanged looks. We have no proof, Henrique said carefully, but we have questions. And enough questions can reopen an investigation. The hearing for the paternity recognition request was scheduled for 2 weeks from now, but before that, something happened. Helena called Joanna. We need to talk. Personally, it's urgent. They met in the same cafe as before. Helena was different. Deep dark circles, hands shaking, wrinkled clothes. He looked like he had aged 10 years in a few weeks. I can't take it anymore, Helena said as soon as Joanna sat down. I don't sleep. Not how. Every time I close my eyes, I see his face. From who? Rafael? Helena shook her head, tears flowing. I lied to you. I didn't tell everything. Joanna felt her stomach tighten. I told you what? Helena took a deep breath as if gathering courage. The night before Rafael died, he went to Veronica's house. They argued. I was there. I heard everything. And what did they say? Veronica said that if Rafael took over you and his daughter, she would destroy him. I was going to remove his name from the office. I was going to tell all the clients that he was irresponsible. I was going to tarnish his reputation forever. Helena wiped her tears with the back of her hand. Rafael said he didn't care, that he was going to do the right thing anyway. And then Veronica, her voice broke. What did she do? Joanna whispered. She said, if you do this, you are no longer my son, and I have no pity for anyone who betrays me. Joanna felt her blood run cold. And then? Rafael left there furious. He got in the car and left. And I stayed with Veronica. She was strange, too calm, cold. She picked up the phone and called someone. I heard her say, he's coming down the highway, he can't get home. Helena covered her face with her hands. I didn't understand at the time. I thought she was talking about something else, but when I heard about the accident, Joanna stood up, her legs wobbling. Did you hear Veronica order her own son to be killed? Helena didn't respond, just cried. Why didn't you tell the police about this? Joanna almost screamed. Because I'm afraid. Helena raised her face, her eyes red. You don't know what she's capable of. She has people everywhere. Police, judges, lawyers. If I speak, I die too. Joanna took a deep breath, trying to process everything. Then why are you telling me now? Helena held Joanna's hands. Because I can't live with this anymore. And because Rafael didn't deserve to die, and his daughter doesn't deserve to be erased. She took a flash drive out of her pocket. I recorded it. The conversation that night, between Rafael and Veronica. It's all here. Joanna took the flash drive with shaking hands. Why did you record it? Because I knew that conversation was going to be important. I thought I would need it one day. I didn't imagine it would be like this. That night, Joanna, Camila, and Henrique listened to the recording in Henrique's office. The audio was muffled, but you could hear it. Rafael's voice, tense but firm. Mom, I'm going to come out to my daughter, with or without your approval. Veronica's voice icy. Are you choosing some random slut and bastard over your own family? She's not a slut. And Sophia is my daughter. She's your granddaughter. I don't have any granddaughters. And if you insist on this, you'll lose everything. Everything, Rafael. The office, the apartment, the car, the bill, everything is in my name. You have nothing. I don't need any of that. I just need to do what's right. There was a pause. And then Veronica's voice, low, dangerous. Then you are no longer my son. The sound of a door slamming, footsteps moving away. And then, lower, almost a whisper, Veronica's voice on the phone. He's coming down the highway. He can't get home. The audio ended there. The silence in the office was deafening. My God, Camila whispered. That's a confession. Henrique nodded, his face pale. With that, we reopen the investigation. We exhume the body. We prove that it was not an accident. Joanna felt the tears flow, but this time it wasn't sadness, they were angry. Of justice. Let's take her down, Joanna said, her voice firm. Let's get this over with. The paternity hearing took place on a cold Thursday morning. The forum was full. Joanna entered accompanied by Camila and Henrique, her legs firm, her chin raised. On the other side of the room, Veronica Almeida sat with 3 lawyers in impeccable suits. She wore a black dress, pearl necklace, hair tied up. She looked like an elegant widow, but when his eyes met Joanna's, there was something there, pure hatred. The judge entered. Everyone stood up. The hearing began. Veronica's lawyers argued that Joanna was an opportunist, that there was not enough evidence before, that the DNA test could have been forged, that Sophia had no right to anything. Then it was Camilla's turn. She presented the DNA test, the messages, the photos, the documents that Raphael had prepared recognizing Sophia, and then the recording. Your Excellency, Camila said, holding up the flash drive. This recording was made on the night of July 23rd, the day before Raphael Almeida's death. In it is possible to hear a conversation between the deceased and his mother, Veronica Almeida, and at the end, a sentence that may indicate the defendant's involvement in the death of her own son. The murmur filled the room. The judge frowned. Show the recording. The audio has been played. Hi, of course. Raphael's voice echoed through the room. Mom, I'm going to take over my daughter, with or without your approval. And then Veronica's voice. Then you are no longer my son. And the final sentence, the one that made everyone's blood run cold. He's coming down the highway. He can't get home. When the audio ended, there was absolute silence. Veronica was pale. His lawyers whispered frantically among themselves. The judge banged the gavel. The recording will be forwarded to the civil police to open a criminal investigation. Regarding the request for recognition of paternity, considering the evidence presented, I defend the request. Sofia Santos Almeida is recognized as the legitimate daughter of Rafael Almeida, with all corresponding inheritance rights. Joanna collapsed. Camila held her. Enrique smiled, his eyes teary. On the other side of the room, Veronica stood up, her face contorted with anger. This isn't over, she spat, looking directly at Joanna. You will pay for this. And then she left, the lawyers running after her. But Joanna didn't have time to celebrate, because that night, when he returned home, he found the door broken down, and on the floor of the room a message written in red ink. Last chance. Last chance. The red letters on the floor of the room screamed threat. Joanna stopped at the door, her heart racing, her eyes scanning the torn-up apartment. Drawers open, cushions on the floor, cupboards wide open. Someone had been looking for something, or tried to intimidate her once again. But this time, Joanna didn't tremble. He took out his cell phone and photographed everything, every room, every evidence of invasion, and then he called the police. 20 minutes later, 2 police officers were at his house, filling out the police report. One of them, a black man in his 40s, looked at Joanna with genuine empathy. Are you involved in any conflict, debt, process? Joanna took a deep breath. I'm suing the Almeida family. Acknowledgement of paternity of my son. And the matriarch, she doesn't want that to happen. The police officer exchanged glances with his colleague. Almeida? Veronica Almeida? Yes. He nodded slowly, as if he understood more than he could say. I will forward this as a priority, and I will ask for protection for you and your daughter. Where is she now? With a neighbor. Safely. Excellent. Keep her away from here until we resolve this. 2 days later, the civil police summoned Veronica Almeida to give a statement about the recording presented in court. The news was leaked to the press. Local newspapers began running headlines. Matriarch of the Almeida family investigated for suspicious death of her son. Audio reveals possible involvement of businesswoman in fatal accident. Hidden heiress. 8-year-old girl recognized as businesswoman's granddaughter. The impeccable reputation that Veronica had built over decades began to crack. Joanna watched everything from afar, from Donacita's house, where she was staying with Sophia. The girl didn't fully understand what was happening, but she felt the tension. Mom, why can't we go home? Joanna stroked her daughter's curly hair. Because Mom is sorting out some very important things, but we'll be back soon. And when you come back, everything will be better, I promise. Sophia hugged her mother, confident, and Joanna made one more silent promise. I will not stop until you have everything that is rightfully yours. At Obriers, the criminal investigation progressed quickly. With the recording as a starting point, police began to unearth inconsistencies in the case of Raphael's death. They discovered that Veronica had called a trusted mechanic the morning after the argument with Raphael, a man with a criminal record for tampering with vehicles. They discovered that Raphael's car insurance company had questioned the speed of the impact and the absence of braking marks, but the report had been archived without investigation. They discovered that Veronica had paid 50,000 reais in cash to a dispatcher 2 days after the accident, an amount whose origin she was unable to explain. And then, the final twist. The driver of the truck involved in the collision, who had been silent for months, contacted the police. He confessed that he had been paid to be on the highway at that time and not to swerve if another car came toward him. He said he didn't imagine anyone would die, that I couldn't sleep anymore, that I needed to tell the truth. With this confession, the civil police indicted Veronica Almeida for qualified homicide, with possible intent and a base motive. Veronica's arrest took place on a cloudy November morning. Joanna wasn't there to see it. It didn't need to. Camilla called and told everything. The arrival of the police at the mansion, Veronica in a silk bathrobe being handcuffed, her screams demanding that they call her lawyers, the escort to the police car under the eyes of the neighbors. She will answer for everything, Camilla said, her voice firm. Homicide, threat, intimidation, obstruction of justice, and Sophia's recognition process is complete. Raphael's inheritance will be divided according to the law, half for Veronica, half for Sophia, but considering that Veronica will be sentenced, it is possible that Sophia will receive everything. Joanna covered her face with her hands, and for the first time in months he cried, but not out of sadness, of relief, of justice, of victory. 3 months later, Joanna and Sophia were sitting on a bench in a small square near the new house they had rented, a small but clean, safe apartment, with 2 bedrooms and a window that looked out onto a flowering tree. The inheritance was still being processed, but Joanna had already received the first installment of the retroactive pension that Raphael owed. It was enough money to pay off all the debts, buy Sophia new clothes, enroll her in a better school. But more than money, what mattered was something else. Sophia now had a surname, Sofia Santos Almeida. He had a corrected birth certificate. There were photos of her father that Joanna finally felt safe to show. It had history. It had roots. I had an identity. Mom, he was handsome, Sophia said, looking at a photo of Raphael that Joanna had framed and placed on the bedside table in the girls' room. Yes, it was, Joanna replied, her voice soft. And he loved you. Even without knowing you, he loved you. And in the end, he did the right thing. Sophia looked at her mother, her clear eyes, so similar to her father's, full of curiosity. And the grandmother? Will she be locked up forever? Joanna hesitated. He didn't want to teach his daughter hate, but I wasn't going to lie either. She will pay for what she did. And one day when you grow up, you will understand that sometimes people make bad choices, and these choices have consequences. Sophia nodded thoughtfully. Then he smiled. But we won, right, Mom? Joanna hugged her daughter, squeezing her tightly. We won, my love. We won. A few weeks later, Joanna received a letter. There was no sender, just a handwritten name on the back. Helena. He opened it carefully. Joanna, I left the country. I couldn't stand living with the weight of everything any longer. But before I go, I needed to tell you something. Thank you. Thank you for being braver than me, for fighting when I gave up, for giving Raphael a voice when I was silent. Sophia is lucky to have you as a mother. And Raphael, wherever he is, I know he's proud. Take care of her. And from you, with affection, Helena. Joanna folded the letter slowly and kept it with Raphael's other souvenirs. I didn't know if I would ever see Helena again, but he wanted her to find peace. Everyone deserved a second chance to do right. Veronica Almeida's trial lasted 2 weeks. Joanna didn't attend every day. She didn't want to relive the pain, but she was present when the sentence was read. The courtroom was packed. Journalists, curious, relatives of other victims of injustice who saw that case as a symbol. Veronica entered escorted in her prison uniform, without the pearls, without the impeccable bun, without the arrogance. She looked smaller, older, defeated. When the judge read the sentence, 22 years in prison for aggravated murder, plus 3 years for threat and obstruction of justice, Veronica didn't scream. He didn't cry. He just lowered his head. Joanna felt something strange in her chest. It wasn't joy. It wasn't hate. It was closure. Raphael had been avenged. Sophia had been recognized. Justice had been done. In that night, Joanna prepared a simple dinner: rice, beans, roast chicken, salad. Sophia helped set the table. Excited, Donacita had been invited and brought a cornmeal cake. Sitting at the table, the three said a prayer. Joanna was grateful for the food, the house, the safety, the victory, the justice, the second chance. And then while they were eating, Sophia asked, Mom, now that we have money, can we buy ice cream every day? Joanna laughed, a light, genuine laugh that she hadn't let out in months. Not every day, but on Sundays it can be. And can we visit my father's grave? Joanna stopped. He looked at his daughter. And he saw there in her clear eyes the same dignity that Raphael had tried to have in the end. Yes, you can, my love. We can. And the following Sunday, Joanna and Sophia went to the cemetery where Raphael's ashes had been deposited in a small family plot. It was a beautiful, wooded, peaceful place. Sophia was silent for a long time, looking at the plaque with her father's name. Then, in a low voice, he said, "Hi, Dad. I'm Sophia. We've never met, but Mom told me about you. She said you were beautiful, smart, and that in the end you tried to do the right thing." The girl paused, tears flowing. "I wanted to meet you, but everything is fine. I know you're seeing me from somewhere, and I promise I'll be a good girl. I will study a lot. I'll take care of Mom, and I will make you proud of me." Joanna hugged her daughter, the two crying together. And there, in that silent cemetery, under the shade of a flowering tree, Joanna felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. The fight was over. The truth had won. And Sophia, her beautiful, strong, dignified daughter, finally had what she always deserved: a name, a story, and a chance for a future. 6 months later, Joanna was enrolled in an EAD pedagogy course. She worked part-time as an administrative assistant at a human rights NGO, the same one that Camila ran. Sophia was at a private school, with a partial scholarship paid for by her father's inheritance. On Friday nights, Joanna and Sophia made popcorn and watched movies together, wrapped in a blanket on the small sofa. On Sunday mornings, they drank strong coffee and talked about dreams. "Mom, when I grow up, I want to be a lawyer, just like Dr. Camila," Sophia said once, her eyes shining. Joanna smiled, proud. "You will be, my love. You will be." And while looking at her daughter, Joanna thought about everything she had been through: the humiliation, the pain, the abandonment, the fight, the threat, the fear, the courage, the victory, and he understood something profound. Dignity cannot be bought, it cannot be inherited, it cannot be given as a gift. Dignity is earned, with truth, with courage, with persistence, and she had earned hers, and guaranteed that of his daughter. Your final reflection. Joanna and Sophia's story is not just about inheritance or money, it's about identity, about belonging, about justice delayed, but not denied. It's about a mother who, even alone, even humiliated, even threatened, didn't give up. Because giving up meant erasing her daughter's existence, and a mother never does that. It's about a man who, in the end, chose to do the right thing, even though he knew the price would be high, and he paid with his own life. And it's about a truth that no one can bury forever. Every child deserves to know where they came from. Every child deserves to have their name. Every child deserves dignity. Because in the end, it doesn't matter the color of your skin, the size of your bank account, or the surname on your certificate. What matters is the truth, and the truth always finds a way. Burkur. And you? What did you think of this story? Do you think Joanna did the right thing by fighting to the end? Or should I have taken the money and moved on? Give this story a rating from 0 to 10 and tell me in the comments, have you ever experienced an injustice that you had to face alone? How it was? If you liked it, subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and watch the next story. Because here, justice always wins. Always. Until next time. And remember, the truth is not buried twice.